I stand in the grand ballroom of my parents' Beacon Hill home in Boston, the crystal chandelier scattering rainbows across the polished herringbone floors. My name is Caroline Hayes, I am 28 years old, and the weight of my new Wharton MBA certificate feels heavier than the Waterford crystal glass in my hand. For my entire life, that degree was the goal. The golden ticket to my father's approval. But tonight, my right hand instinctively moves, as it has so often these past few weeks, to the small, firm swell beneath my silk evening gown. 5 months of a joy so profound, and a terror so absolute, all wrapped up in one secret. This evening was meant to be my coronation, a fundraiser for my father's re-election, where he could proudly present his Ivy League educated daughter to his most influential donors. But as I step away from a conversation with a state judge, my father, Senator Harrison Hayes, corners me by the fireplace. His gaze, usually so calculating and political, drops to my middle. His face, which I've seen masked with public charm and private severity, contorts into a look of pure, unadulterated disgust. In 28 years, I have never seen him look at me like this. "You are a disgrace," he says, each word a precise, quiet cut, ensuring no one else can hear. "Get out." My mother, Margot, her pearls gleaming, glides over. She doesn't look at me but at my father, her hand finding his arm in solidarity. "You made your bed, Caroline," she whispers, her voice lacking even a pretense of warmth. "Do not ruin this night for your father." I swallow, the air in the crowded room suddenly too thin. "If you'd just let me explain about Nathaniel." "There is nothing to explain," my father cuts me off, straightening his tuxedo as if my very presence has soiled it. "Do you have any idea what this will do?" "The optics. Pastor Powell just asked me to give the keynote speech at the New England Family First Foundation." He can't even finish the sentence, his face flushing a deep, dangerous red. "We have given you everything," my mother adds, her voice trembling, not with sadness, but with a carefully calibrated outrage. "The best schools, a network most people would kill for. And this is how you repay us." What am I supposed to tell the ladies at the charity gala committee? They're meeting here next week. Their words wash over me, and a cold, terrible clarity sets in. They haven't asked a single question about my health. They haven't asked about the father of my child. They haven't asked how I feel. All they see is the threat to their perfectly curated political image. "You are not welcome in this house while you are carrying that mistake," my father declares, his eyes scanning the room to ensure no one is watching our tense exchange. His words unlock a memory, one I had buried deep. I was 20, and I'd been offered a chance to work for a nonprofit in Africa. I was so excited. When I showed my father the acceptance letter, his smile never reached his eyes. "Humanitarian work is a hobby, Caroline, not a future," he'd said. "And a Hayes always puts the family reputation first. I've already secured you a summer internship at Goldman Sachs." I remember how I'd nodded, swallowing my disappointment, just as I had when he'd vetoed my unsuitable college boyfriends. Every decision, every achievement, measured against Senator Harrison Hayes's impossible yardstick. And still, I had never measured up. My hands tremble, but my voice, when it comes, is steady. "They didn't even ask who the father was," I whisper, mostly to myself. If they had, everything might have been different. My father checks his watch, a clear signal that my time is up. "I'll have your things sent to a hotel," he says dismissively. "Call my office tomorrow. We'll figure out how to manage this." "I'll get my things myself," I say quietly. Upstairs, in the bedroom that still looks like a museum exhibit of my childhood, I pack a single suitcase with mechanical precision. Through the floorboards, I can hear the muffled sound of my father's voice at the microphone, welcoming his guests. 5 minutes. It took 5 minutes to erase 28 years of being their daughter. On the hallway wall, a gallery of family photos mocks me. The Hayes family at the governor's ball. The Hayes family on the cover of Boston Common magazine. The Hayes family, perfect smiles, perfect clothes, perfect poses. Not one of them shows who we really are. I pause at my Wharton graduation photo, taken just last month. My father's hand is on my shoulder, looking proud to any stranger. But I remember how his fingers dug in, hissing in my ear, "Don't waste this, Caroline. This is your value." Downstairs, the party is in full swing. My parents are gone, back to pressing flesh and securing votes. I walk to the grand mahogany table in the foyer, where my diploma was displayed in a heavy silver frame. I take the certificate out, roll it up, and place it in my bag. I leave the empty frame behind, a final, silent offering to their altar of appearances. As I step onto the cobblestone sidewalk, the heavy oak door clicks shut behind me. A quiet, final exclusion. I press my hand to my belly, feeling a tiny, reassuring flutter. It's just us now, little one. I whisper, fishing my phone from my purse to call Nate. For the first time in my life, I have disappointed my parents in a way that can't be fixed with another achievement or a strained apology. And strangely, beneath the crushing weight of the rejection, something else stirs. It feels like relief. It feels as if I've been holding my breath for 28 years and I can finally exhale. My dear friends, have you ever reached a point where the life you built to please others shattered? When you realize the people who were supposed to love you unconditionally only loved the idea of you. It's a painful, clarifying moment. If you've ever felt that, or know someone who has, please consider liking this video and subscribing. We talk a lot about resilience here, and I'd love for you to be part of our community. Later that night, the hotel room's king-sized bed feels vast and empty. I'm clutching my phone, tears blurring Nate's name on the screen. My fingers tremble as I press call, each ring echoing the frantic pounding in my chest. Caroline, what's wrong? I thought you were at the fundraiser. Nate's voice, always so calm and steady, wraps around me like a blanket. They threw me out, I whisper, the words sounding hollow and unreal. He saw I was pregnant. They threw me out, Nate. I'm coming right now. No, wait, I choke out. There's more. They didn't even ask who you were, Nate. They didn't ask anything. What? There's a sudden, cold fury in his voice. Caroline, put your laptop on. Check the Beacon Hill Ledger blog. My hands shake as I open my laptop. The Society blog, the one my mother reads religiously, is already updated. The headline is Discreet Senator Hayes's daughter taking personal leave. Oh, God, I whisper. I read the post aloud. Sources close to the family express deep concern for Caroline Hayes, who, after graduating from Wharton, is reportedly unwell and suffering from a breakdown. The senator and Mrs. Hayes are devastated and ask for privacy as their daughter receives the help she needs. The room spins. Nate, they're telling everyone I'm mentally unstable. They're not just disowning me, they're discrediting me. They're controlling the narrative, Nate says, his voice tight. And that's not all. My father just got a call from a friend at Bain Capital. Your father, Senator Hayes, has already been on the phone. He's been calling his contacts at every major financial firm in Boston, voicing concerns about your emotional stability. He's trying to get you blacklisted, Caroline. The air leaves my lungs. My father, who had built his career on favors and backroom deals, was using that same network to systematically destroy my future before it could even begin. He's trying to make me desperate, I say, a chilling calm settling over my shock. If I can't work, if I have no money, I'll have to go crawling back to him. I'll be forced to do whatever he says. My mother is using social pressure. He's using financial leverage. Listen to me, Caroline, Nate says, his voice firm. We are not playing their game. My father wants to speak with you. The phone rustles, and a new voice, deeper and filled with quiet authority, comes on the line. Caroline. This is Arthur Davenport. You are family now. Do you understand me? We protect our family. Something inside me, something that had been coiled in fear for my entire life, finally snaps. I stand up, wiping the tears from my face. This isn't about shame, I tell him, the clarity crystallizing my thoughts. It's about control. Precisely, Arthur says. Now I've already sent my personal driver to your hotel. He'll be there in 10 minutes. We're at the house in Newport. Pack your things. I couldn't impose nonsense, he replies, cutting off my protest. Alina is already preparing the East Suite. My daughter, Sophie, is practically bouncing off the walls to see you. And our family's legal team will be contacting every firm your father spoke to first thing tomorrow morning, with a letter of recommendation that will overshadow anything a mere senator has to say. 2 hours later, the driver, a kind man named Thomas, helps me with my single suitcase. We pass through imposing, centuries-old wrought iron gates, following a winding drive bordered by ancient elm trees. The house rises before us, a staggering 20-bedroom Gilded Age cottage, overlooking the dark, moonlit ocean. On the wide, lamp-lit steps stands Arthur Davenport, silver-haired and straight-backed in a cashmere sweater. He opens my door himself, bypassing the driver. "Welcome home, Caroline," he says, helping me out with a gentleness my own father has never shown. His wife, Eleanor, appears in the doorway, her face warm with a genuine concern that makes my throat tighten. "The suite is ready, dear. But there's a warm meal waiting for you in the kitchen, if you're hungry. No rush at all." Sophie, Nate's younger sister, barrels past her mother, throwing her arms around me in a fierce hug. "I'm going to be an aunt! This is the best news ever!" Their unconditional welcome washes over me in waves, each kind word a stark, painful contrast to the icy rejection just hours before. These people, who I barely know outside of their relationship with Nate, are offering me what my own blood could not. In the grand foyer, beneath a soaring, vaulted ceiling, Nate is waiting. As I approach, he drops to one knee, revealing a stunning, antique emerald cut diamond ring. "My grandmother's," he explains, his voice thick with emotion. "My father had it sized for you last month when I told him our plans." The ring slides perfectly onto my finger. Another piece of evidence. While my parents were preparing to cast me out, the Davenports were preparing to welcome me in. Later that night, in a guest suite larger than my entire Boston apartment, I stand at the window, overlooking the manicured gardens silvered by moonlight. The victory feels hollow, bittersweet. I found a home, but I had to be exiled from the one that was supposed to be mine. My phone buzzes on the nightstand. A text from my mother. "We are all praying for your recovery, Caroline. Your father has only ever wanted what is best for you." I turn off the phone. I place one hand on my belly and the other on the cold, heavy diamond. "We have a family," I whisper to my unborn child. It's just not the one I expected. I wake to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar silk curtains, momentarily disoriented, until my hand finds the small, firm swell of my belly. 3 days. I've been at the Davenport estate in Newport for 3 days, and I still expect to open my eyes to the cold, formal walls of my childhood bedroom. Instead, I'm surrounded by the soft blues and creams of the sweet Eleanor prepared with such care. My phone buzzes on the nightstand. Another text from my mother. "Reverend Powell mentioned wayward children in his sermon yesterday. The entire community is so concerned for you. Please, come home." I set the phone down without responding. Downstairs, the scent of coffee and cinnamon pulls me toward the kitchen. Eleanor Davenport stands at the massive marble island, her silver hair caught in the morning light. "There she is," she says, sliding a plate of cinnamon toast toward me. "Sleep well, dear." Before I can answer, my phone lights up with a call from my father. It's the 4th one this morning. I silence it, but not before Eleanor notices. "They know I'm here," I explain, the toast suddenly dry in my mouth. Eleanor covers my hand with hers. Her touch is warm. "Let them know. This isn't a secret, Caroline. You have nothing to be ashamed of." Her eyes, so like Nate's, crinkle at the corners. "You're carrying our grandchild." Her simple, matter of fact acceptance breaks through the walls I've kept up for days. "They're telling everyone I had a breakdown." I confess, the words spilling out. "My mother has been leaking her concern to a society columnist. And my father has been calling every financial firm in Boston, telling them I'm unstable." Eleanor's expression hardens. "Harrison Hayes always did prefer manipulation to an honest conversation. You know him. Arthur and Harrison have crossed paths in business and politics for 30 years, she says, refilling my tea. "Your father threatened one of our junior executives yesterday. Told him his job would be in jeopardy if he didn't share your new address. That's how they knew you were here." The familiar knot of fear forms in my stomach, but for the first time in my life, something else rises alongside it. Anger. Sharp, hot, and clarifying. "I need to document everything," I say, the lawyer, like precision of my MBA training kicking in. Every call, every text, every blog post, every attempt to interfere with my career. Eleanor's smile of approval warms me more than the tea. "Smart girl. Protect yourself first." Later that morning, I sit in the window seat of the Grand Library, my laptop open. I create a detailed timeline, cataloging each manipulative text, each missed call, each report from Arthur about my father's interference, complete with dates, times, and screenshots. My expensive education is finally finding a purpose beyond making my father proud. Arthur finds me there, still working, when he returns from the city early. "Caroline," he says, knocking softly on the doorframe. "We have company." The hollow feeling in my stomach tells me exactly who it is before he says another word. In the grand foyer, my parents stand like foreign dignitaries on hostile soil. My mother's cream-colored suit doesn't have a single wrinkle. My father's posture is, as always, ramrod straight. Their eyes sweep over the soaring ceiling, the hand-carved staircase, and the generations of Davenport family portraits with undisguised, envious calculation. Caroline, my mother steps forward, her arms outstretched for an embrace she knows I won't accept. We've been so worried. My father doesn't bother with the pretense. What exactly do you think you're doing here, Caroline? This rebellious phase has gone on long enough. You're coming home, where we can discuss this situation privately. Harrison. Arthur Davenport's voice lacks my father's sharp edge, but it carries a quiet, ancestral authority that makes everyone turn. Margot. I wasn't aware we'd scheduled a meeting today. My father's jaw tightens. This is a family matter, Arthur. Indeed it is, Arthur replies, moving to stand beside me. Eleanor appears at my other side, her shoulder brushing mine. Which is precisely why we're involved. You've turned our daughter against us, my mother accuses, her voice pitched perfectly to convey heartbroken maternal concern. I find my own voice, and I'm surprised to find it steady and clear. You rejected me. They welcomed me. My father's eyes narrow. You made your position clear when you threw me out. You didn't even ask who the father was. A flicker of uncertainty crosses my mother's face, but my father plows ahead. And now we find you've entangled yourself with the Davenports. How convenient. A Caroline is under our protection now. Harrison, Arthur says, his voice flat, is our future daughter-in-law. And as the mother of our grandchild, she has our full support. The confidence drains from my father's face. Future daughter-in-law. A Nate appears at the top of the staircase, descending to join us. He crosses to me, his hand finding mine, the new diamond a beacon on my finger. We're getting married, he says, staring directly at my father. Something I would have been happy to discuss with you, Senator, had you given Caroline the chance to explain. My mother's perfect facade cracks. Nate Davenport. But Caroline, you never mentioned. Would it have mattered? I ask, my voice quiet. If I had told you that night that the father was Nate Davenport, would that have changed your reaction? The telling, awful silence that follows answers my question more clearly than words ever could. My father recovers quickly, shifting his tactics from paternal rage to political negotiation. Arthur, he says, forcing a businesslike smile. We should discuss this reasonably. Our families, our mutual interests, they could be affected by this situation. Arthur's smile never reaches his eyes. My family is not a situation, Harrison, and your political interests are your own. Your interference in my family, however, is not welcome. I watch my father's confident mask slip further, revealing the naked calculation beneath. For the first time, I see him clearly, not as the infallible patriarch whose approval I've spent my life chasing, but as a small, ambitious man whose power only exists when others are afraid of him. My mother senses the shift too, her eyes darting between Arthur and my father, suddenly unsure which man holds the stronger position. Perhaps we approached this incorrectly, she offers, softening her tone. We'll only want what's best for Caroline. No, I say, the word coming out sharp. You want what's best for your reputation. I place a protective hand over my belly. I'm building a real family now. One that doesn't need your approval. The wedding planning begins in earnest. Eleanor and Sophie are a whirlwind of gentle enthusiasm, booking a string quartet and a florist for a small, elegant ceremony in the Newport garden. My only request is that it be soon. But a week later, there's another knock on the library door. Arthur enters, his expression grave. Caroline, your parents are in the living room. My stomach tightens. Again. They brought friends, he says. Reverend Powell from your family's church, and a man named Dr. Alastair. I recognize the name. Dr. Alastair is a family therapist my parents have on retainer, a man who specializes in managing the difficult children of Boston's elite. It's an intervention, I whisper. Eleanor appears behind her husband, her hand hovering near the security panel by the door. You don't have to see them. Say the word, and I will have them removed from the property for trespassing. Weeks ago, the combined weight of my parents, my pastor, and a psychiatrist would have crushed me. I would have crumbled, apologizing for a crime I didn't commit. But something has shifted. The documentation I've gathered, the Davenport's unwavering support, the clarity that comes from seeing my parents' manipulation laid bare. It all crystallizes into a new kind of strength. No, I say, rising from my chair. I'll speak with them. As we descend the grand staircase, I feel Nate's steady presence behind me, his hand on the small of my back. Each step feels like reclaiming ground. In the formal living room, Reverend Powell stands when I enter, his expression deeply uncomfortable. My parents flank him like stone bookends. My mother's eyes are red, rimmed, a performance I now recognize. My father looks not at me, but at Arthur, still searching for leverage. Dr. Alastair, a man with cold, assessing eyes, watches me from his chair. I take a deep breath, my hand finding Nate's. It's time they heard my truth. I don't sit. I remain standing, a strategic choice that puts me on equal footing with the men who have come to judge me. Reverend Powell, Dr. Alastair, I begin, my voice carrying the crisp, professional tone I'd perfected at Wharton. I address them directly, ignoring my parents. I appreciate your concern, but I need to correct the false narrative you've been given. The Reverend blinks, surprised by my directness. I am not unwell, nor am I having a breakdown. The truth is, I was disowned by my parents 5 days ago, the moment they discovered I was pregnant. They threw me out of their house without even asking who the father was. Or that I am, in fact, engaged to be married to Mr. Nathaniel Davenport. The shock on Reverend Powell's face is genuine. His eyes dart from my calm expression to my father's reddening one. Furthermore, I continue, this is not, as I'm sure you were led to believe, a child from some reckless encounter. This is a child conceived in a committed, 5-year relationship. What my parents have orchestrated is a campaign of emotional and professional manipulation. I see Dr. Alastair's eyes narrow. I've taken control of the room. I have documentation, I say, pulling my phone from my pocket and connecting it to the room's large monitor. Here are the screenshots from the Society blog, where my mother leaked concerns about my mental health. And here is the log of calls my father made to Bain Capital, Goldman Sachs, and Morgan Stanley, attempting to sabotage my career. We just wanted what's best for you, Caroline. My father lurches forward in his seat. Can't you see that? My mother reaches for the pastor's arm, tears materializing on cue. We were in shock. You sprung this on us so suddenly. I watch Reverend Powell's face as he absorbs the conflicting narratives. His gaze lingers on my mother's hand clutching his sleeve, then shifts to my father's rigid, angry posture. If you wanted what was best, I respond evenly. You wouldn't have thrown me out. You would have asked, are you okay? You would have asked, who is the man you love? You would have rejoiced at the news of your first grandchild. But you didn't. You asked, what will people say? My father's jaw tightens. This is not the place for airing family business. This is enough. I'm calling Daniel Hargrove at Bain myself on Monday. We'll see how excited they are about a new associate with your complications. A small, satisfied smile touches Arthur Davenport's lips as he steps forward. Actually, Harrison, I had lunch with Daniel Hargrove yesterday. I sit on the firm's advisory council, as you know. My father's face begins to pale. Daniel was delighted to hear about Caroline and Nate's engagement, Arthur continues, his voice pleasant. He was so impressed with Caroline's resume, in fact, that the firm is fast tracking her partnership offer. They are fully supportive of her family plans. The color drains completely from my father's face. My mother's tears vanish instantly, only to reappear with renewed vigor when she notices Reverend Powell watching her. The calculated, on-demand nature of her performance becomes painfully, embarrassingly obvious. Reverend Powell clears his throat, his disappointment palpable. Senator, Mrs. Hayes, you didn't mention your daughter was engaged to Mr. Davenport. You presented this as a case of a young woman making reckless choices, who needed the church's guidance back to the right path. He turns to me. Miss Hayes, Caroline, I sincerely apologize. The church should offer support during important life transitions, not judgment. Realiner steps forward, retrieving a small, beautiful silver envelope from a side table. While Arthur sees to coffee, she says to the pastor, perhaps you'd like to see our grandchild. She hands him the ultrasound photos. Pastor Powell's weathered face softens as he examines the images. Beautiful, he whispers. Truly a blessing. Nate moves to stand beside me, his arm slipping naturally around my waist. Caroline and I have been together for 5 years, Pastor, he says. One met our first week at Harvard. The timing of the baby was a surprise, but our plans to build a life together have been in motion for years. Sophie, who had been watching from the doorway, brings over a folder. "We've just finished the engagement announcement for the Boston Globe," she says brightly to the Reverend. "Perhaps you'd like to see the proof." My mother's eyes are glued to the ultrasound photo, still in Pastor Thompson's hands. Something flickers across her face. Not the manufactured grief she's been displaying, but something raw and genuine. For a brief second, I glimpse the grandmother she might have been, if appearances hadn't mattered more than love. My father, however, notices nothing. His focus remains fixed on Arthur, his mind frantically calculating the power dynamics he has so clearly misjudged. "Harrison," my mother whispers, touching his arm. "Maybe we should listen." His head jerks toward her, pure betrayal in his eyes. "There's nothing to listen to. We are leaving." But my mother doesn't move. Her gaze returns to the ultrasound photo. Is it a boy or a girl?" she asks softly, her voice small. It's the first real question she's asked. The first crack in their united, selfish front. "Margot," my father snaps. He looks down at her with cold disbelief. Then, realizing he has lost the room and his wife, he turns and walks out of the living room alone. The heavy front door closes with a decisive, echoing click. My mother sits motionless, caught between the husband she has always obeyed and the grandchild she suddenly, clearly, wants to know. "It's a boy," I tell her. My voice is not warm, but it's not cold. It is simply factual. An offering she can choose to accept or reject. For the first time in my life, I see my mother without her mask, and I realize, with a profound sense of freedom, that it is not my problem to fix. The week before the wedding, one final letter arrives. It's not from my mother, but from my father's law firm, delivered by courier. My parents are formally threatening to sue for grandparent rights, demanding mediation before the wedding. I'm in Arthur's study with Nate and his parents. "He's bluffing," I say, tracing the embossed letterhead. "His actions. The documentation I have. No court in this country would grant him visitation after he disowned me, slandered me, and tried to destroy my career." "He's not bluffing, Caroline," Arthur says quietly, looking out the window. "He's desperate. A desperate man is a dangerous one. But," he adds, turning back to me, "he's also wildly over-leveraged." Nate looks at his father. "What do you mean?" "Your father, Harrison, used his political action committee to secure the loan on his primary campaign headquarters in Boston," Arthur says. "The bank that holds that note. I happen to be the majority shareholder." I feel a chill. This is a level of power I've only read about, a power my father always tried to emulate but never truly possessed. "I'm having our lawyers draft a letter," Arthur continues. "Harrison has a choice. He can attend his daughter's wedding, as a guest, and cease all legal and personal attacks. Or, his PAC can find a new headquarters by the end of the month, just as his election campaign kicks into high gear." "The boundaries aren't punishment," I say, the words tasting strange and powerful on my tongue. "They're protection." The wedding day is perfect. A string quartet plays back as I walk down the aisle in the Newport garden, my 5-month bump proudly visible under the ivory lace. My parents are there. They sit in the second row, behind the Davenports. They look strained, pale, and utterly defeated. My father avoids Arthur's gaze. My mother watches me, her eyes filled with a new, complicated emotion I can't quite decipher. They do not stay for the reception. It is the truce that power, and boundaries, had bought. 4 months later, I stand in the nursery of our new home in Brookline. The late afternoon sun streams in, painting the buttery, yellow walls in gold. My Wharton MBA hangs in my home office, and my career at Bain is thriving. Nate comes in, his smile soft. He's holding our son, Arthur Hayes Davenport, born 3 days ago, his tiny, perfect fingers wrapped around his father's one. "There's a letter," Nate says quietly, nodding to the side table. My mother's handwriting, shaky and unfamiliar, crosses the cream envelope. I open it. It's a short, desperate plea. "Your father is a broken man. I just want to see my grandson, please." I look at my son sleeping peacefully, and I feel not anger, not bitterness, but a profound, quiet clarity. I pick up a pen and write a note back. "Margot, our home is not a place for politics or manipulation. When you are ready to be a grandmother, and he is ready to be a grandfather, without agendas, without conditions, you know where we are. But the Senator Hayes who disowned me is not welcome near my son. Looking at my husband and my child, I finally understood. Family isn't about blood. It's not about reputation, or obligation, or what the neighbors might think. It's about who stands by you when you can't stand on your own. It's about who protects you, who champions you, and who sees your worth, even when you've been raised to forget it. My dear friends, many of us were raised to believe that family is an obligation, a debt we must pay, no matter the personal cost. But the greatest lesson I learned is that you cannot set yourself on fire just to keep others warm. True family, the family you choose and that chooses you back, is built on a foundation of mutual respect, not control. What do you think? Have you ever had to choose between the family you were born into and the family you created? Please, share your wisdom and your stories in the comments below. I read them, and they give all of us so much strength. And if this story of resilience resonated with you, please do us the kindness of hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss a new story of reclamation and finding your own strength. Thank you for being here.